Well, much like the Chiefs were stumbling or I guess Michigan and Alabama were stumbling and bumbling, the Chiefs are stumbling and bumbling too, trying to get into the playoffs, which they did. Eight straight dynasty. Fuck you mean?
Fuck you mean.
Whoa,
Don't act like you're a fan. Shut up.
whoa, whoa,
Don't act
whoa,
like you're a fan.
whoa.
Don't act like you
Part
like
time.
the Chiefs.
Part time.
Don't act like you don't root for every other team in the NFL.
Part time.
Nah, football's been bad this year, and the
It
Chiefs
it
have
has
been
been.
the Chiefs have
Huh.
been just like the case study of that. We have been playing rough football, but we've still been winning games.
Somehow we do get 10 wins, walk away against the out of a rival, I guess, at this point, even without Joey Buns. We win 25-17 while Jamar Chase talks trash at the end of the game after only putting up 41 yards. I don't know what that guy's problem is. I don't know if he actually
He don't
likes
like us. He
Cincinnati.
doesn't like losing to us. I wouldn't
I
like
mean,
losing
I
to us
I don't
either.
like it either. I wouldn't either, but like you're in Cincinnati, dude.
he's,
Cincinnati's
he's
not
a fake
not
little
the
pussy
place you would.
boy. He's not.
He,
He's not a real G.
I loved all that trash talk at the end. T. Higgins was not laughing with you, bro. He was laughing at you in the locker room. Just like we were laughing at you because it's Cancun on three. uh,
It's refreshing to have a game where we can win with like mostly or only field goals. When usually that's how we fucking lose.
it was so infuriating, and we had talked about it. I don't even remember. It may have been the pregame show, Tubbo, where we talked about winning by field goals and what it was like back in history. That must have been like
like
a,
our my
a
my top five
manifestation.
letdowns.
Yes, that was a manifestation of this game because we have not had to have a kicker go out there and win us a game. And Bucker goes out and he goes 5 for 5. And him and Pacheco were the only two that really showed up for the entire game because the defense didn't show up for the entire game. None of the receivers showed up for the entire game. Pat didn't show up for it. Pacheco and
I don't think we ever have
Bucker
to
were
worry about Pacheco showing up for a game. Pacheco loves to play football, man.
that dude. That dude embodies just like the love of the game.
Pac-10 runs harder than anybody, any football player in the league.
Ever, ever. Nobody could ever. I you can't convince me that anybody ever ran harder than him. It looks like a cartoon every time he just takes a step, high knees and all.
Yeah, the little in the. All right, I'm not gonna go forward with that because that statement would have been a little pause gay type shit. But yeah, Pacheco and Bucker were definitely what went right. Um, I guess the defense played well enough. They held them to. They didn't crack 20 points.
Hold them to 17. That's what we average. And as long as we score 24 points or more, we're undefeated. So we just have to figure that out. Still no takeaways. We're down we're minus 11, minus 12 now. I think Pat still turned it over in this game. Um
it's gotta come eventually, man. Like these numbers don't happen. Like
they do happen. They just happen to teams that don't win this many games.
true.
So something you are right. Something's going to have to give at one point or another. It's either going to be we're out or we stop turning the ball over and we start getting turnovers. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I want to start off with things that went wrong before we get into the positives of this game because it still seems like everything is going wrong. Receivers are not running correct routes. MVS having a ton of snaps still, and he actually missed the catch, and it wasn't a great throw by Pat. It was definitely behind, but 100% catchable. And he turns around and he looks at Pat and he's like motioning to where the ball should have been or where it was. And like, no, you've
That
lost.
shit that shit overall needs to stop. I was complaining about that after the Christmas game with Pat talking to Rasheed Rice, but just that if you have some legitimate criticism for your brother, your teammate, Like, do that shit in the huddle. Don't put that on display. It's but like we are we are teetering right now. Like we could just go shit down our leg game one in the playoffs, or we can make us this team can still make a strong push. Jesus
We are we are.
Christ. Like a solid defense and a Pat Mahomes offense, if we can just catch the ball a few more times than we drop it in a game, this team can still win games and playoff caliber games. I like we are a contender. Just I don't know.
We're at
I feel
over
like we're still
40
more
drops.
dangerous than the Browns, guys. Like I mean, the Browns. Hey, Flacco's playing great, cool. Their defense is pretty darn good, but like if we turn it on, if we get some shit going, if we start catching some passes, like we obviously can win games.
Yeah, I here's what it's going to take. It's going to take Pacheco touching the ball 18 plus times. It's not going to be. It's not going to be.
It's not going to be what Pat wants. It's not going to be
No,
Pat Mahomes style football.
it's not going to be Andy Reid style of football. It is going to be smash mouth. Pacheco's got to touch the ball. I mean, hell, he had 18 carries for 130 yards. That's over 7 yards per carry. Still walked away with no rushing touchdowns. Rashee Rice did great, caught 5 of his 6 targets. Pacheco caught 7 of his 7 targets. Like that's the type of game we're gonna have to have. He's gonna have to touch the ball 18 times out of the backfield, rushing, and then he's gonna have another 5 to 8 receptions. Travis Kelsey is nowhere to be found. 3 for 16. He's only 16 yards off of 1,000. But like, like this is what's going to happen moving forward is a perfect game. 0 turnovers. We're going to have to move the ball. There's nothing else. The defense is going to have to make every stand and get some turnovers because we go out there against Joe Flacco, anybody else who can put up a who has a decent defense and can put up some numbers. We're going home. That's it.
Don't be surprised if someone who gets a sack or a couple sacks, if this team makes it to the Super Bowl, we get a defensive MVP instead of Pat or somebody on offense.
Yeah, it's defense wins championships. We'll have to see. We can now officially look towards the playoffs because hey, 8 years in a row, AFC West champions. I don't think there's an opportunity for us to get the 2 seed. Am I right on that? Are the Dolphins at 11 wins?
They play
Dolphins
the
are at
Bills.
11 wins. They do play the Bills. If they lose and we win, there's a chance for us to take the second. Actually, no, there's no way for us to get the second seed. Never mind. Because if Miami loses and Buffalo's at 11 wins and they have the head to head over us, if Miami wins, they'll be a game ahead of us. So yeah, we're stuck at 3. So expect these guys to not be out there in week 18 very long either.
And no, they're
What?
11-5 right now, and we're 10-6. So if
Yep.
they lose,
Then
we win. We're
Buffalo,
both 11-6.
yeah, but Buffalo would have the head to head on us because they beat us.
Oh,
So
all
that
three
means
would be
that
11-6.
yeah,
So we would, yeah, we would stay at the 3.
we
That's
would
fair.
stay at the 3. There's no opportunity for us to move up to 2. That's why, because here's the thing: is if there's an opportunity for the Bills, could the Bills lose? They have an opportunity. If they beat Miami, they become the number 2 seed. If they lose to Miami, there is
Right,
a possibility that they do not make playoffs at
right.
11 at 10 wins. So there's a lot of
Which
moving
is
and
what we
shaking
want. That's
there.
exactly what we want.
Can't have the hot teams moving forward. Yeah, no, the Bills don't even deserve to go. The way that Stephon Diggs has let me down in fantasy this year,
What do
screw
you mean
you.
Bills don't even deserve to go? They're the
Bills
same
don't
record
deserve to
as
go.
us right now.
Don't care. Don't deserve it.
Don't care.
Screw the Bills. Screw Florida State. Screw Texas. and the Bengals. Cancun on 3.
Right.
Um, let's we've talked about all the things that went wrong, and there's nothing that's gone different from the rest of the season. We don't need to talk about it too terribly much. We've covered a little bit about the things that went right. Obviously, Bucker and Pacheco. Let's talk about some of the other things that went right. Mainly the fourth quarter and this defense. Chris Jones, who I have been critical of this entire season of loafing around, he's clearly not going to win depoy. He clearly screwed himself over in the money game, but he's come up big here in the second half to get us into the playoffs. And George
Still a
Karloftis, who's
force,
been
man. Like he's not worth the type of money that I think he was asking for.
definitely not,
He's worth a good chunk of money, but
he's not worth that 30 plus that he was
no,
asking for.
he's not.
He's 22 to 25, maybe not Aaron Donald money. George Karloftis, finally, I think he ended up with 2 sacks in the fourth quarter after being quiet for the last 9-ish weeks. Does that sound about right? Yeah, one and a
Nine
half.
weeks?
He's been quiet. I think he's had like a game where he's had like half a sack or maybe credited with a full sack. But over the last course of the back half of the season, he's been quiet. He's not done anything.
Well, I would say him and Mike Dana would probably be the two that have been the most consistent outside of Chris Jones. Now, Amenahue kind of looks like a guy who has like a switch that he can flip and he can turn it on. I don't see him 100% of the time creating an impact when he's out there, but I this is the most formidable defensive line that Pat Mahomes has had playing opposite him. So I'm happy with it. I know you said George has been a little quiet, but they're kind of I mean they're the anchor guys. They're the biggest reason why the defense has and can be as good as they are this year.
We've talked about it before. I mean, look at last year with how good our DBs were, and our D line wasn't creating any pressure. And we talked about it for a large portion of last season. And now look at how good our DBs can be this season because our defensive line is actually being able to create pressure, move quarterback out of the pocket or within the pocket, really disrupt that timing. That's why our defense is so good this year. That's why it's important that a defensive line that you have one is you can only cover for so long. And credit to Spags. I've called him out at a couple times this year. I've never been the biggest Spags fan, but credit to Spags. He's done well. There is rumblings in the kingdom talking about Spags being the head coach after Andy leaves. You don't want
Good
that.
God, no.
You don't want that.
We are second in the league in sacks right now.
Yeah,
I'm on a
no,
page
we are there.
that shows multiple defensive stats, and you look over like sacks looks great. Like that's what I'm sorting by right now. Baltimore Ravens are the only other team that have more sacks than us right now. But you go over to the right where it says interceptions and interception yards, like we're pathetic.
It's so bad.
We're
I
as
mean, hey,
bad as the Los Angeles Chargers in that.
we'll lock it down, but you try to give us the ball, and we couldn't take it if you handed it to us on a
Right.
silver platter. And that's going to be the name of the game. That has got to turn around. We've either got to have zero turnovers and zero takeaways, or if we're going to give over the ball, we've got to have multiple takeaways back on our end because that's the only way we're coming out winners in the playoffs.
You know, good teams have good players that put themselves in good positions. I think that we continue to do that. That turnover battle is going to start leaning our way in the playoffs. Um, because that's when it matters. And I feel like in high pressure situations, the fact that we continue to put ourselves in good situations, something's gonna fall our way. It's gonna happen. I promise.
We're
Because
gonna need more.
that's the
We're gonna need
optimist.
more than
That's the
that.
optimist talking.
And that's
Uh,
and that's that's good. We're gonna need
I think
more than
that's
a few
enough.
things to
I
fall
if
our
you
way.
you talking like 2 or 3 games where we get some turnovers to fall our way, and we got Pat, dude.
We also need to
He
do
will he will
something in
run
the
that bitch
playoffs.
in if he has to. Like
In the
Pat wants to
playoffs, yeah,
win.
he does
Pat
turn
wants
it
to
up a level.
win.
He does turn it up a level. Um, it's possible that in week 18 we get to see some of these younger cats, obviously probably outside of the first quarter. Like we need Travis to get to his 1,000 yard mark, and some of these guys need to hit their incentives. But we should see some of these guys who don't get, especially at the wide receiver position, who don't get much time on the field, get more time throughout that game. Maybe get their confidence boosted up before we go into the playoffs. Maybe give an extra look because to the coaches, because we know that our wide receivers change out so often because we have such a large group and they still haven't figured it out. Like we still look at the snap count at the end of every game. We're going, why is this still constantly changing? There's no chemistry involved here. There's no rhyme or reason to the rotation. Tybo, do you think with week 18 and the possibilities that come out there that we could actually have a formidable side with some confidence going into the playoffs, regardless if they played with Pat or not in that wide receiver corps?
Dude, what'd you ask? I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on our receivers, I guess. Because the overall takeaway from the season is I honestly wish we would have given Amir Smith Marset a chance.
Should have.
Uh, but other than that, I think you're right. Some guys lower on the depth chart are probably going to get some playing time in this last week of the regular season because they don't want Kadarius Toney to get hurt. I understand we've had all the problems with him, but he's going to have schemed impact plays in the playoffs and further down the line if we make it. You know what I'm saying? Like
You think so?
that's what we are as a team. That's who we Rasheed Rice is gonna have his number one role locked away. Like he's gonna get multiple targets. But Kadarius Toney is gonna have some schemed impact plays, i.e., what you saw in the Super Bowl in that what they call it, corn dog or the
Yep.
motion back and forth. Like he's gonna have those types of plays in the playoffs, and they don't want a damn near meaningless game at the end of the season to ruin that for the playoffs. Because I promise you, they got a couple of things tucked away. That's just the way Andy does things around here.
It's fair.
But I don't. You can hope and speculate that someone that has a great game in the final game of the regular season lights that spark on into the playoffs, and he's like, you know what, we found another guy. We found another guy who can be consistent and make catches and who wants to be on the damn field because it seems like MVS doesn't want to be on the field. Justin
Yeah.
Watson is not a starting three top three on the depth chart wide receiver
He
in
at
the
least
NFL.
tries.
Like, I
He at
mean,
least
yeah,
shows
he at
effort.
least tries, but like he's
Yeah.
not. He's like
Fair.
he's a fill-in. He's a Byron Pringle to us. Like he's not the answer, but like he'll be on the team for a little bit.
Yeah. No, I I'm just hoping that maybe somebody steps up. I don't think that'll be the case, but we've been hooping and hollering all season for Justin Ross, um, and probably obviously hindered quite a bit by his off field
I
issues.
Yeah, and he didn't get very many snaps. I was watching him like a hawk when I was
Did
there
get
on
a catch.
Christmas. Yeah, but he's not getting very many snaps. But I was watching him like a hawk on Christmas when I was there, and a couple of his routes looked crisp. I think he had maybe 1 or 2 targets, but then the rest of his snaps, I think he had like 10 snaps. Like he wasn't there wasn't a whole lot of effort. His routes weren't as crispy. So
Yeah, I
Someone
think
someone's
that's
got to want to be there, and it's baffling to me that the coaches like haven't found that yet, or if they're more caught up in we gotta play this guy because we're paying him so much or whatever it is. I it baffles me that we haven't found somebody who just wants to catch the ball like a fucking
wants to
like
give
a
an effort.
NFL caliber receiver, dude.
Right, reminds me a lot of Maggie's Nagy's time in Chicago, man. A lot of people just don't want to play, don't look like they want to play, look like they'd rather bicker out on the field, and that's not been a staple of Andy's teams, offensively or
Yeah, it's
defensively. It
not.
was it was what was really cool
We
is
may have had some sort of play calling issue with Eric Berry at times, but you never saw players not wanting to be on the field, and that's I feel like that's what I'm seeing this year,
on
especially
the
towards the
offensive
end.
side, because on the defensive side, you've got I think we've had multiple games now where on the defensive side you've got players or coaches yelling at each other, holding each other accountable. Players are angry, they're upset, they missed an assignment, somebody's calling them out on it. Sometimes if you're embarrassed by that 100%, and you don't want to be called out on it, but they don't care. They're Minihue was yelling at Willie Gay for missing an assignment. You had a few weeks ago where Chris Jones and one of the defensive line coaches were going at it. Like that sort of stuff happens, and we're not seeing that happen on the offensive side. What we're seeing is bickering and motions out on the field and things like that, like not holding each other accountable, but like nitpicking and being
And bad body
sarcastic.
language overall.
And so that's got to change going into the playoffs, or that's probably the number one thing that has to change going to the playoffs is accountability and bad body language. You change those two things, balls start falling your way. Um,
I'm still out here saying they need to be practicing catching the goddamn ball. There's no reason we should be dropping passes in the NFL at the rate that we've been doing this shit.
over 40,
It's ridiculous.
over 40. We are on pace to break a record
Is it
if
our
we
own
haven't already.
record?
Let's take a look at that real quick. Most
I
drop.
remember the year that we hadn't had a touchdown thrown to receiver. It was all tight ends
Yeah,
and
I
running
do.
backs.
I do
Remember
remember
those
that. That was
years?
awful.
We had some years where we dropped a lot of passes, man.
We've been through some storms.
Who do we play week 18?
Week 18, we have the Chargers.
The Chargers.
Is it the Chargers?
I don't know. You
I want to say it's the Chargers. It's usually the Chargers. It's not the Chargers. Who do we play? It is the Chargers. 5-11 Chargers. 5-11 Chargers. I don't know. I cannot find that stat. It keeps wanting to give me individual drop passes for a career. So somebody's got over 100. Can't believe that they've been passed to that many times. But yes, we do have the Chargers in week 18
3:25 Central Standard Time.
eating Easton
We're
stick.
in Los Angeles though.
Oh, big whoop. Big whoop. We'll lose to them, as is our fashion
Yeah.
in week 18, because we'll have.
We might want to do that. Hear me out so we don't play the fucking Bills. No.
I don't think we can go down to the 4 seed.
We
I think we're
can't.
stuck at 3.
We're stuck
I'm
at 3
I'm
because the
I'm
AFC
almost for
South is
certain.
10-4.
I'm almost for yeah, because AFC South are all at what 8-9 wins currently.
I think so.
Taking a look at that real quick.
Yeah.
Standings.
Jags, Colts, Texans are all at 9-7.
Yeah. So I mean the winner of any of these could technically that none of them could jump us because we would hold the win over the
We'd be the
Jags.
Jag.
So yeah, we're stuck at the 3 spot. So take a loss, take a win, doesn't really matter. We're in the playoffs. Get these guys their records, get them their incentives, except for you, Chris Jones. You don't deserve yours.
But if the Bills stay at the 6th spot, we do play the Bills, and I don't want to play the Bills.
So they need to win and go to the 2. so that we can play them in the divisional round.
Fine.
Unless they lose in the wild card weekend.
That'd be great too, you know.
Were you giving me a fine or were you saying fine?
Uh, I said that would be fine.
Oh,
I
okay.
did not, I did not find you.
Don't find me
Uh,
now. We'll talk about that real quick. Sean is sick and unable to do some editing as well. Uh, so we're just kind of
what's sad?
muddling this all together. But for any of
Hey,
you,
no, scrap that. Scrap everything we're about to talk about. Well, how did we do on Pick'em?
that's what I was just about to talk about.
Oh. Okay.
Uh, good week for Sean. Fantastic week for Sean.
Damn.
He is now in the lead. He has overtaken me. He won this past week 11-5. He went. Tybo went 8-8. I went 7-9. John now leads me by 3 games.
And how
Leads
far back am
you.
I?
He leads you by 6.
Let's go.
He
Still
leads me
within
by
striking
3.
distance.
I lead you by 3, and he leads us by 6. 127 wins, 129 losses for Sean. I have blown
He's
it.
close to 500. We can do this.
We can do this. We're right there. We can do this. This pick against the spread is not easy. I'll record our Thursday games
It's
later. We
so
don't.
much better last year.
Well, it wasn't against the spread last year. The
Let's go
spread is
back
tough.
to that. Let's go back to that.
Why? It's not as fun.
Because I want to
So
feel much better about
it's
myself. I
meant to be a
don't feel good about
challenge.
myself with this shit. If we would have taken money lines on everything we bet last year, we would have been way up.
We would have had a lot of money in the bank.
If we would have done this bullshit, we'd be down just a little bit.
And that's why spreads are hard. That's why spreads make you a lot more money.
All right, well, at least if Sean beats you, I'll still be happy.
Why? Is because I owe the most money into the pot?
I
Is that
think
why?
I think I've
Hopefully
overtaken you, but still, you owe enough. You owe enough.
I don't want to owe. I don't want to owe anything. Stop
I
finding me. You guys find me for no reason. Didn't find
think
Sean enough.
I think that might be worth a
We
find.
do we find Sean for not being here, faking
I'll
sick?
do that. I'll find him for that. He's
Uh,
totally lying too. He's not sick.
you said you talked to him.
He sounds sick, but he's lying.
Listen, I can be here. I took some cold and flu meds. We're here. We're doing it.
We're
And
here. We're not queer. Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl still.
and because you're also here, we have over 50 subscribers. We have 50 subscribers on YouTube, and because of you,
Kyle's
we
top
have
five dance moves.
Tybo's top 5 dance moves. They're out now. At least they better be. If not, we're fighting Sean quadruple.
They don't
So
get out
make
tomorrow.
sure
Yes, we will find Sean a lot of money.